Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Cinnamon Stitches. I am your yarn host Jennifer and today is P-yow! And that means it's Premier Yarn of the Week. Now, this week we're featuring the Premier Anti-Pilling Everyday Worsted Painterly yarn. It's a 4-weight, it's anti-pilling acrylic, it's really cute, it's on my head. We are going to make this hat which we have all named together the Strawberry Shortcake Hat, so we're just going to stick to that because I said when I was showing you guys this hat that I created, I was like, okay, it reminds me of Strawberry Shortcake, just the way the little scalloped edge is, the way it fits close to the head. It's like a little cute little cloche. And I was like, okay, let's talk about whether we want to make this a tutorial or not. And several of you, lots and lots of you, said, let's make the Strawberry Shortcake Hat. So it's the Strawberry Shortcake Hat. The colors are not necessarily strawberry shortcake, but like, I mean, it's cute, okay? Now, this hat is really simple to make. I have shown it in the past. It has like a very simple granny top on it. It has a really cool like spiral effect in the stitches here. We got some bumpy stitches here, which is like this really cool like effect. And then we got this cute little shell border. This hat fits my head very nicely. I, however, have a 22.5-inch head. I have a pretty large head. I'm going to give you a alternative for a smaller sized hat. I don't know if this, I don't have the ability to make this into child size, but I'm sure that once I tell you how to construct the hat, you guys will be able to figure this out. The width of the hat is determined by the increases at the crown here, because we're starting top down. And if you just take some of those rows away, you will have a smaller hat, and then you'll have to take some of the rows away from here. But I'm not doing all the math to make this a child size hat. This is for adults. I will give you ways during the tutorial to help you to size it down a little bit if you want. It's just a matter of subtracting some of the rows. It's not difficult. But for all intents and purposes today in this tutorial, this is an adult size hat. Like I said, it is made with the Premier Anti-Pilling Worsted Painterly yarn, which is fantastic. This color is Neon Lights. This one, which looks very similar but is not the same because it has blue in it. This one doesn't have blue. This one is the color Party Time. Party Time. And then the one we're going to be working in the tutorial today is Jam Session, because we're making strawberry shortcake, so I figured we should go with the jam. This is the jam colorway. The white base is more of a yellowy white base, and the color strips are a little more primary, whereas this is more neon. But you can use any of the colorways that you choose. You can make this hat your own. I always encourage that. So let's go down to the table and get started on this really cute hat. Okay, so for this tutorial, I am using a 5mm crochet hook or an H. I always get people, I know that there are people who specifically use the letters and there are people who specifically use the numbers. I am a millimeter type girl. I do not have the alphabet memorized. This beautiful hook is brought to you by Ommi. This is an Amazon hook. I will link it below because every time I feature these favorite hooks of mine, these are my favorite hooks, I always get asked, where did you get that hook? So I will link it below in case you want a fancy hook. It comes in a couple of different colors. I'm trying to center pull this yarn. You only need one ball of this yarn to make a hat, and you will have a little bit left over. So in case you want to make like a matching headband or something. Center pull, turn into yarn barf. Still can't find the center. This happens every time I create a tutorial. I don't know what it is, like the yarn barf gods are with me. Every time I make a tutorial, I could be crocheting on my own for my own benefit, and this will not happen. The second I go to make a tutorial, my yarn throws up at me. Alright. Little man is home today and there's construction going on, so we're gonna hopefully get through this tutorial. Alright, so he keeps knocking on my door for every little thing. We're gonna start with a magic circle. Don't get scared if you don't like magic circles. I'm gonna make it real easy for you. You're making basically a slip knot, okay? Magic circle is just a slip knot that you work around the outside of the slip knot, okay? So you take your yarn and you go boom, you put a little X in there, and you take the little tail, put it on the bottom, you pinch the X, you go in, you pull up a loop, you chain 1, and then when you're going around the circle, you crochet over both of those, the tail and the circle, okay? So we chained 1, that's just to create the magic circle. We're going to chain 2 more, that counts as a double crochet. We're going to put another double crochet, and then we are going to chain 1, and then we're going to do 2 double crochet, chain 1, and we're going to do 12 double crochet all together with a double crochet in between the 2, okay? So we're going to do 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, chain 1 until you have 12 double crochet, and then put a chain 1 and we're going to connect. So we got 2, 4, 5, 6, chain 1, 7, 8, chain 1, 9, 10, chain 1. I'm going to pull this to make it a little smaller hole. I say that was 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, whoops, chain 1, pull your circle all the way tight, so you should have 12 double crochets with a chain 1 in between, so 2, chain 1, 2, chain 1, all the way around. There's a chain 1 here before we slip stitch into that very first stitch. Okay. Now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to turn our circle over, and we're going to be working in the chain 1 spaces between the 2 double crochets, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to put a granny shell, which consists of 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space. We're going to chain 2 and then do that all the way around. So granny, chain 2, granny in the chain 2 in the chain 1 spaces of the previous row. Chain 2, granny, 3 double crochet is a granny, chain 2, oh, we got a little pop of color, granny, 3 double crochets, chain 2, granny, chain 2. I forgot to work over my tail, but it's fine, I'll weave it in later. I was supposed to work over my tail. Granny, chain 2. If you don't work over this, you have to weave this in, because if you don't weave this in, and you don't weave this in really good, your magic circle will come apart. It will open back up. Your hat will fall apart. So you want to make sure that you either work over the top of that, which I failed to do, or you work it in, but I messed up and I didn't work over it, so we'll have to weave it in later. It'll be fine. It will be fine. Everything will be fine. All right, so we did the chain 2, we slip stitched to that first chain 3 of the, or that wasn't a chain 3, I made a double crochet. Slip stitch to the top of the double crochet we made at the front of the row. Chain 1, turn again. Now for this row we're going to do granny shell, chain 2, granny shell in each one of these spaces. Okay, that's how we're doing our increases. I like this colorway. All right, so granny shell, which is 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and granny shell back in that same space. Go to the next space, granny shell, chain 2, granny shell in the same space. Go to the next space, do the same thing. We're going to do that all the way around. Granny shell, chain 2, granny shell in the same stitch. Granny, chain 2, granny, next stitch, granny, chain 2, granny. We're working in the chain 2 spaces of the previous row. And we're not chaining in between. This is I call this a granny increase, the granny, chain 2 granny. We're not chaining anything in between those. Granny, chain 2, granny, granny, granny. Next space, granny. Chain 2, granny. Oops. Slip stitch that first double crochet. Chain 1, turn our work. Alright, now this one is where it gets a little crazy. Alright, so in this in-between space, we are going to put a granny shell. So 3 double crochet. Oh, that red is pretty. And in the increase sections, where we got those little peaks, we're going to put an increase. So we're going to put a granny, chain 2 granny, and in the space in between those, right here, the next space where it's kind of like the valley. So the peak is going to get an increase. The peak is going to get a granny increase. So granny, chain 2 granny. And the valley down here, because it's like that, the valley down here is just going to get a regular old double crochet, or not double crochet, a granny shell. So 3 granny, or 3 double crochet, a granny, like that. Okay. And then at the peak up here, we'll do an increase. So we'll do granny, chain 2 granny, or 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Ooh, another color already. I really like this color. I think I have 2 more skeins of this colorway specifically. Isn't that pretty? It's already looking so cute. I like this yarn because it reminds me of like little pops of flowers. So we're in the valley, so we're doing just a granny shell. It looks like a little, it reminds me of like flowers. The next, we're at a peak, so we're going to do an increase. Granny, chain 2 granny. We're at a valley, so we just do a regular granny. We're at a peak, so we're going to do an increase, which is granny, chain 2 granny. Bentley is whining. He may need to go out, so I may need to take a potty break with him, although he's been out like 4 times this morning already. We're in the valley, we put a granny shell. We're at the peak, we're put an increase, granny, chain 2 granny. chain 2, granny. Now, I don't know if you know this or not. You have the ability to slow down my videos. YouTube has a function where you can click the little, there's a little gear, it looks like. You can click on that, you can slow down the video. In case I ever am going too fast, because I know that I do crochet fast. You slow the video down. So we got the valley, we put a granny shell. We're at the peak, so we're going to put an increase. And see how some of the colors are like little pops of color and some of the colors are like bigger pops of color? So we're at the P, we're doing granny, chain 2, granny, slip stitch to join in that first double crochet of the row, chain 1, turn our work. That's what it looks like so far. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have a, what's that called? A hexagon? Got a hexagon. Isn't that cute? Alright, so we're on row, that was row 1, 2, 3, 4. That was on row 4. We're here. I'm going to pause and check on the dog. I'll be right back. Alright, so this next row we're going to kind of take away from the peaks a little bit. And by doing that, we're going to not do any increases. We're just going to do double not double, why do I keep saying double crochet? Granny shell in every space between the granny shells. So in the valley, well, there's 2 valleys now, but in the spaces between the shells and in the peaks, we're just going to put a granny shell, chain 1, granny shell, chain 1, all the way around. And this is going to start to bring the hat down a little bit. Chain 1, granny shell, chain 1, granny shell, chain 1, granny shell, chain 1. So see how we go around, we're putting one here, we're putting one here, we're putting one here, here. Like every time you're in between a shell, you're going to put a granny shell, chain 1. So in between the peaks, you should have 1 in the peak, and then 2 more, and then 1 in the peak. So in between each one of the corners, you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, all the way around, okay? Granny shell, chain 1, granny shell, chain 1, granny shell, chain 1. Now at this point, if you're going to make this hat for a little kid, you're going to want to skip the next couple of rows. So if you're making this kid size, let me finish this row and I'll tell you what to do if you're making this for a child. And by child, I mean like under 10 if they have a reasonably small head, toddler size probably. Don't mind my son. I've asked him to be quiet 100 times. It's not gonna happen. It is voter day today in the United States. And there's no school because the schools are used for voting. We've already had arguments about what he was going to eat for breakfast. Oh, we used up, this is officially all of the yarn barf. We are now pulling from the center. That's how much yarn barf we had. That's insane. Alright. So a way that you can keep track of how many rows from here you need to make for the circumference size of your head is once we get done with the increases to this point, I'm going to slip stitch to join. I'm going to grab a tape measure. This is going to be basically how big the hat is. Okay, so you just measure the perimeter here. Let's see if I can find a tape measure. And that will give you about how wide the hat, how big a person's head should be to fit in this hat. So like I said, this size will probably be for a little kid. A baby hat maybe. So that's about a 17-inch. That'll be for about a 17-inch head. So if you have a 17-inch head, from this step you're going to skip to the step, which will be where we turn the hat inside out. So let me make a note. 17-inch head for row 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Row 5 for a 17-inch head. I am going up to row 8 is when we change. So this is row 5. So you're going to skip ahead or just continue watching, and then when we get to row 8, I will let you know, and that is when you will start for like a small size. If you're making this for a kid, we'll skip to row 8, okay? So I'm going to chain 1 and turn. So this is for us bigger head people, okay? And we're going to put 4 double crochets instead of the granny shells. We're doing 4 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 1 in every shell, or in it, not every shell, in every chain space, put 4 double crochets, chain 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 1. If you've ever done the granny stitch, like you don't need me to tell you where to put the stitches, but for those of you who might be brand new to crochet and you don't know what you're doing, so chain, that's 4 double crochet, chain 1. We're just going in between the shells. Alright. 4 double crochet, chain 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 1, oops, 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 1, and I will meet you at the end of this row because this row's getting bigger and people are talking. So 2, 3, 4 double crochets, chain 1. I went ahead and weaved in my tail while we were working on this. So we got to the end of the row, and once again we're going to slip stitch to join. I'm going to grab that tape measure and give you an idea of how big row 6 should be. It helps if I move my crochet hook a little bit, huh? Alright, so for that, I'm at about 22 inches, but I'm still going to do one more row because this hat, like I said, you can stop at this row and we can skip the next row if you have a on the smaller side head. Like I said, this is 22 inches. I'm going to do one more row because when we do some of the rows closer to the end, like the ridge rows, that actually pulls the hat in a little bit tighter. So you can, if you have it on the smaller, if you have a normal size head and hats in the stores can fit you, you skip the next row. If you have a big head like I do, we're going to do one more row of the increases before we start on the bottom of the hat, okay? So once again, we're going to chain 1 and turn. We are going to this time put 5 double crochets, no chain in between. We're just going to do 5 double crochets. In every space. 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess I did kind of give you the measurements for 3 different size hats. And that's the way you just make this hat smaller, is you just take out some of these rows so that this part is smaller, because this is the crown of the head. I am noticing with this Jam Session colorway versus the Neon Lights one, it seems like there's more colors popping up. You see that? See how there's a lot of white here? But this has like beautiful, this one kind of reminds me of butterflies, right? I don't know why. It's looking like butterflies to me. So that's why I think this yarn is a lot of fun to play with. People always get stuck with the idea that yarns like this are made for knitting. Especially like even the yarn companies are like, well, we're going to show it what it looks like in knitting, because their idea for making this specific type of yarn, they thought of it as a knit yarn. And there's yarns on the market that are absolutely just marketed as this is better for knitting because you get those little micro stripes, okay? But for me personally, as a more of a crocheter than a knitter, I like to think outside the box, and I like to think of what can we do with yarn that is specifically meant for knit. Let's make it our own. Let's do something that is specifically for our craft. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I knew, and I talked about this when I first showed you guys this yarn, I knew that this was going to make little pops of color like this, and I knew that it would look cool because I saw a knit specific yarn in a LYS store that was very similar to this, and they crocheted up in granny stitch, and it looked amazing. And I just knew, like, I fell in love with it. I actually bought the yarn right off the bat because I was like, that looks so much better knit or crochet than it does knit, in my opinion. Because with knit, yeah, you get those cute little micro stripes. Ain't nothing wrong with that, because I love my knit hat too. This is the same yarn. I love this. I think this is cool. This is fun. So is this though. Like either way, you are winning with this yarn. And it's really soft. The anti-pilling acrylic from Premier is like top notch. I know I sound like I'm inserting a commercial, but this is just my honest, humble opinion. I fell in love with Premier Yarns because of their anti-pilling line. Because you guys know, I have skin issues. I have eczema. I get these blisters when I touch things and my knuckles like scab over. It's really bad. And sometimes I have had breakouts where the entire palms of my hand turned to blisters and peeled off. Because I touched something I wasn't supposed to. And that's why I love this yarn so much, because it does not bother my skin whatsoever. This actually started after I was working with some wool. Real talk. But I just really like the anti-pilling acrylic from Premier. I think it's their best yarn. And they're coming out with all these cute little colors and like designs, and I am here for it. I'm here for the party. And I ain't going till they kick me out. I don't even listen to country music. I don't know why that popped in my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, I listen to Garth Brooks, but he's like, I like 90s country music. I don't like a lot of the newer stuff. Yeah, we're almost all the way around. I'm glad I bought this colorway, this jam session, because it is cute. I wasn't real sure because it's hard to tell online. And I already know, like, I love neons. Like, obviously, I love neons. Neons is my go-to. But, I just really thought this was a pretty colorway. And I'm really glad I bought it. Three, 4, 5. I'm going to need to take an arm break in a minute because my arm muscles right here are hurting. If you have ever crocheted on a table, if you haven't crocheted on a table, go sit at the table and crochet like you're doing a tutorial. Just hold your hands in one steady spot and try crocheting with your hands above where you normally crochet. Like it is. It's not for the faint of heart. Alright, so we're going to slip stitch to join. Alright, that is what we have. So the circumference now, I keep forgetting to remove the hook. Move the hook. Move the hook. We're at 24.5 inches. So that is perfect for my big giant head. Because like I said, some of the further down rows, the stitches get a little bit tighter. So if you make a little bit extra room, because those stitches get tight, because we're going to be working in the third loop of a half double crochet when we get further down. And yeah. Alright, so now we are going to start. We are actually going to work, this is going to be the inside of the hat. So we're going to be working on the inside of the hat on the outside. So I know it's hard to describe what I'm trying to talk about at this point. I get sometimes my brain gets scrambled. I'm like, okay, does that even make sense? Let me take a drink of caffeine so I can make my brain work. All right. We have been working. We're flipping our work every row, so there's not actually an inside or an outside. Like either side is the right side at this point of the hat. From this point on, we are going to be working a stitch that we're going to actually flip the hat so that we're looking at the back side of the stitch. So we're going to work in the round, and then when we get to the end of, this is going to be rows 8 through 15. Of course, if you're making a smaller hat, you're not going to do 8 to 15. You're going to like probably cut that number in half for a kid size hat. So instead of doing 7 rows of this stitch, maybe do 4 rows of this next stitch. This stitch is really easy. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, and we are going to, don't worry, I'm going to walk you through everything. I'm not going to leave you hanging. Single crochet in the next stitch, okay? And then in the we're working in the top of the double crochets of the shell, the double, we're working at the top of the double crochets, okay? So we single crocheted there. So the next stitch we're going to double crochet. The next stitch we're going to single crochet. The next stitch we're going to double crochet and single crochet. I'm going to do that all the way around. Single crochet, double crochet, single crochet, double crochet. So there should be no increased stitches, just single, double, my phone is dinging, single, double, and whatever row you left off on. So if your last row was the double crochet row, you should have single, double across the stitch, and then single, and then double, single, double, like every other row, okay? Or every shell. Then the next row we did 4 double crochets, so it should be single, double, single, double, single, double, single, double, single, double. You're working the double crochets only, okay? And since we have 5 here, we're doing single, double all the way around. Nothing should go in the space between, except, you see, if you pull that apart, this is the top of the double crochet right here. So we're working in all of the little circles at the top of the double crochets, okay? That's for the beginners who don't understand stitch recognition, because I know there's a lot of you out there. It took me a long time to realize what stitches look like, and all that. In order to learn what stitches look like, that takes you practicing making the stitches over and over again and looking at what those stitches look like. It's the only way. Somebody can't teach you how to recognize stitches of your own work. That's something you gotta practice with. So we're just doing single double all the way around. Single double all the way around. I had someone ask me, could you help me so that I know that I'm putting the stitches in the right spot? Which one's the single, which one's the double? Okay. So the single is the shorter stitch. The double is the taller stitch. So this is what a single crochet looks like. The opening of the single crochet is right here. Okay, that's your entire, when you work the next row, you're going to be working into that hole right there. And then the double crochet looks like this. So you're going to be working into this hole right here. Okay. So the last one was a double. We're going to do a single. Single, double, double, single, whatever. Alright, I'm going to pause here and I will meet you at the end of the row. Just keep doing a single and then a double and then a single and then a double all the way around. Your hat's going to start to want to curl up because we're not doing any addition. This is where the hat is going to start going down over your sides of your head. I got so in my head, I kept crocheting past the point where I was supposed to show you what to do. Alright, so I'm frogging it back. Okay, so here we go. So we got to the end of the row, okay, and my last stitch was a double crochet, single crochet. Now what we're doing, instead of slip stitching to join, is we are just continuing on. So my last stitch was a single crochet and the first stitch of the row was a single crochet. So that works perfectly in the fact that single crochet, the double crochet is supposed to go on top of the single crochet. So I'm just, instead of joining, I'm just working in the round. So I'm just going to keep spiraling this around. Now if you have a hard time, you can get a stitch marker. You can mark this stitch here. Where I had stitch here, there. You can mark your stitch. That's the beginning of the row. We can mark that so we know that this is the start of row 2. Now if your last stitch was a double crochet and your first stitch was a single crochet, just add another single crochet in there so that the pattern continues on. So it's single, double, single, double, single, double. And your first stitch of the row should be a double crochet for this row. For the next row, it'll be a single on top of the double, because the doubles go on top of the singles and the singles go on top of the doubles. Okay, so the single crochet looks like this, and the double crochet should be in this little side loop over here, because this is the single crochet stitch. The double crochet stitch looks like this. It's a little bit taller and the loop is still there, so it kind of looks like a P, okay, or a backwards P depending on how you're looking at it. So we're just going to continue on single, double all the way around. Singles should be on top of the double crochets and doubles should be on top of the single crochets. And as long as you end the row in a single crochet and you started the row in a single crochet, it should just work out that you just continue single, double, and you probably won't even notice that you've made it to the second round, like, which is what I did. But again, if you end the row in a double crochet, just put an extra single crochet in there so that the next stitch, which would be the top of the single crochet we started the row with, should be a double crochet. And then that should keep you on track. So just single, double, and just keep going in the round. So the very first single, double row was row 8. And we're working up to row 15 for a large size hat. But if you are making this for a smaller person, go to like row 12 with this. And it should work out. So just single, double. And since you don't need to watch me know how to do this, I'm not going to film my entire row up to 15 rows. Give you an idea with the other hat. This is what it should look like. So this is actually the back side of the stitches, which is what I mean, like I'm working it this way, which looks fine. If you like this side, you can leave this. We're working this way. When we get to the end of this section, we're going to flip it and we're going to start working on the opposite side. But see how it gives this like cool diagonal ridge effect? That's why we're doing it. We're going to flip it inside out when we're done. We have about, this is another way. You can just do this until you've reached about 2.5 inches for a large. Do like 2 inches. If you are making it for the 20-inch head, do about 2 inches. And if you're doing it for a person who has like a 17-inch head, do like 1.5 inches of this. The row is not going to matter. What we're going for is measurements. Okay, that way you can adjust this hat to any size head. You just need to do less or more rows. That's all there is to it. So I'm going to do this round and round till I get to about row 15. And then I will be back when we have about those 2.5 inches of this pattern working in the round. So see, this is what it looks like the front side, but what we're going to actually be showing on the hat is this back side of the stitches. So I will meet you at the end of my row 15, but it might be row 12 or 13 for you. All right, so we made about I don't know. I haven't been counting the rows because phone calls and all that good stuff. But anyway, we made it about the width. I measured it next to this hat. It equaled out. All right, so since we were crocheting this way, we're going to now take the hat and flip it inside out because I think this side of the stitches looks cooler than this side. This side is more like flat, and I mean it's still pretty on this side, but I like when you flip it inside out, it actually is, there's ridges here and it gives it a cool texture. So I mean, personal preference, whatever you want. So what we're going to do is I ended the row in a single crochet and I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch to just start the next row, and then I'm going to chain 1 and turn. And now remember, we turn this inside out. We're starting the new row right here. This is what our hat looks like so far. Now we are going to do a row of half double crochets. So just go around and in every stitch, just make a half double crochet. All the way around. All the way around, half double crochet. If you don't know how to make a half double crochet, you wrap it and you pretend like you're going to make a double crochet, except you go through all 3 loops. Bam. Like that. Half double crochet all the way around, and then the next row we're going to do half doubles too, but we're going to do half doubles in the 3rd loop. So I'll show you where the 3rd loop is, don't worry. We're going to actually be working on the back side of these stitches back here. Alright, so we made it almost all the way around. These are just half double crochets in the round. Well, not in the round, but kind of in the round. Half double crochets. We're going to slip stitch to join in that first stitch. I'm going to chain 1. Now this is where it gets a little janky, gets a little complicated, gets a little weird. We are going to, now whereas we would normally do a half double crochet in the top of the half double crochets, we're not doing that. And we're not even doing the back loop. So normally this is what the back loop would look like. You would go in the back loop right here. We're not doing that. We're going into the third loop. So we're going to actually take this stitch and fold it forward. You see the back side? So this is the top of the stitch. See how there's a V here? When you flip it this way, there's another V back here. Okay? So what we're going to actually do is we are going to half double crochet in, tilt it back, this back loop back here. This is called the third loop. Okay? See, that's the top of the stitch. This is the back of the stitch. It looks the same. It's the same type of V, but we're working in what's called the third loop. And we're just going to do half double crochets in the third loop all the way around. And what that does is it actually pushes this stitch, which would normally lay like this, it pushes it forward like that, so you get that really cool ridge effect like that. See how it's already starting to turn right there? So instead of laying flat like that, it's going to turn like that. And these stitches are going to face outward towards you. Okay? So just remember, you got to kind of turn it. This is the top of the stitch. Turn it that way. And grab that third loop. And half double crochet in it. And of course, I'm going to slip out of my stitches. We're going to do this all the way around, and we're going to, in the next row, we're gonna kind of repeat this 3 times. So we're going to do a row of half double crochets, a row of half double crochets in the third loop. The next one will be half double crochets. The row after that will be half double crochets in the third loop, and then we're going to repeat this 3 times. So what it will look like is this. So we have half double crochets, third loop, half double crochets, third loop. And it will give us these 3 really cool ridges. So that's what it's going to look like. Isn't that cool? So that's all there is to this. Half double crochet in the third loop. I really like yarns with this type of weird color patterning that you just don't know what color is going to pop up next. And I like it because of the way my brain works. I get really bored with monotony, with like monotone colors. My brain lights up when I get like little pops of color that I don't expect. That's why I really like speckled yarn. And this is kind of like the same thing. As like, I don't have any clue when the next colors come in. I don't know what the next color is going to be. It's like a surprise. And then my brain goes, ooh, pretty yellow. So see how that's looking already? This cool ridge right here. Alright, so do this. Half double crochet in the third loop. And then I'll meet you at the end of this. But we're going to just really repeat these 2 rows 3 times in total. So we do, this is the first repeat, and then do 2 more repeats of half double crochet, and then half double crochet in the back loop, half double crochet in the back, or the third, it's the third loop, not the back loop. Half double crochet, the next row is half double crochet in the third loop, half double crochet, the next row is half double crochet in the third loop. Alright, so we made it back around. Put in our last half double crochet in the third loop. I'm going to slip stitch to join in the first half double crochet of the row. We're going to chain 1. And this next row is really easy because it's just half double crochets again. It's half double crochet. All the way around. The next row, half double crochet in the back loop, or the third loop. See how that stitch kind of stands forward? It's like, hey, look at me, I'm a cool stitch. And then when we do the next row here, we're going to do the third loop again. So this row right here is actually going to kick forward. And then we're going to do another row of half doubles after that. But I'll walk you through it. So we did half double in the back in the third loop, half double, then the next row will be half double in the third loop, and then half double, and then half double in the third loop again. All right, so I will meet you, just repeat this row and this row, do it again, this row and this row, this row and this row, and then I will meet you at the end of the third row, the third repeat of the back loop only. All right, so we got our 3 ridges in, 1, 2, and 3. I'm just going to come around and do a shell border at this point. So we're going to chain 1, and in that same stitch, we're going to put a single crochet. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches, and in the third, we are going to put, I think 5. 1, 2, 3, yep, 5. We're going to put 5 double crochets in this stitch. So single crochet, skip 2, and in the third 5 double crochets. This is going to be our shell border. 2, 3, 4, 5. Skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, and in the third put a single crochet. Skip the next 2 stitches, and in the third put 5 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Skip 1, 2, and in the third put a single crochet. And that's what your border is going to look like around your little face. It's going to be so cute. Skip 2, and in the third, so skip 1 and 2, and in the third put 5 double crochet. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Skip 2, and in the third put a single crochet. Now the ways to adjust this hat to fit different size heads, obviously, as I told you, you take out a couple of these rows to make the circumference smaller. You take out 1, 2, 3 rows if you need. And a way to make the hat shorter is to take out some of these rows. And it's really simple. It's a really easy pattern to adjust. And there's lots of room to make it more size, I want to say inclusive, but that seems weird for a head. But there's lots of ways you can alter this to make it to fit anybody's head. I think this would be so cute on a little girl or a big girl. Whoever wants to wear this hat can wear this hat. I think it's pretty. Skip 2, 5 double crochet. Skip 2, single crochet. Skip 2, 5 double crochet. We're going to do that all the way around. 3, 4, 5. Skip 2, single crochet. Skip 2, 5 double crochet. See, this hat didn't take very long at all. 3, 4, 5. I don't want crackers, thank you. You can have them. You can have them. Skip 2, 5 double crochet. He's trying to get everybody to eat crackers with him. And they're gluten-free crackers, so they're not exactly tasty. No, nobody wants no gluten-free crackers. And in case you are only here for the tutorial and you don't generally watch my other videos where I explain any background noise today is because there's construction going on my house currently. So I am feeling vibrations in the floor, and every once in a while I hear a screw and I hear pounding. And little man is home because I'm filming this on election day. So he doesn't have school, so he keeps coming in here to talk. But all in all, I think it turned out to be a pretty quiet day considering all of the things that are happening in my house for this tutorial to come through. I think we have just enough yarn to finish this hat off. Two, three, 4, 5, skip 2 single crochet. So that's what the hat looks like. I really like the way this hat turned out. I like this yarn a lot. And I know I've said that several times during this video, is I really enjoyed this yarn. Premier has lots of options for their anti-pilling line. They have solids. They have this one, which is new on the market, the Painterly. They have, I'm trying to think of what else they have on the market right now. They have speckled, but I think the speckled is in a 3-weight. Matter of fact, I know it is because I was just looking at it. See, this is their anti-pilling, but it's in speckles, which is really similar to the Painterly. So they're always coming out with new anti-pilling acrylic, and it's my favorite from Premier. And like I said at the beginning of the video, it's one of the reasons I fell in love with Premier yarns, is because this yarn is just, it feels so nice. But not only does it feel nice on your skin, their claims to this yarn is you can wash it up to 300 times and you won't get any little, you know, and some people don't know what pilling is, but when you wash it and you get those little fuzz balls on here, it doesn't do that. And if it starts to get fuzz balls just from it rubbing against itself, if you throw it in the washer, those fuzz balls fall off instead of you having to get those machines or like scissors, because you know they have those little shavers for your sweaters. You don't have to do that with this yarn. It doesn't pill up. It stays good for a very, very long time. So if you want to make like an heirloom piece, something that's going to last for decades, this would be the yarn you would use. This is really, really excellent yarn for anything for babies or anyone like me who has sensitive skin. It's 1, 2, 3. It's like the best yarn for next to your skin type things. If you have a problem with any kind of yarn itching your forehead when you wear a homemade hat, this is the yarn you're going to use. And that is one of my issues, is my skin is very sensitive. So, oh, it looks like we're going to have to squeeze in this last shell. It'll be fine. I don't quite have enough stitches, but we'll just squeeze it in and it'll be fine. 3, 4, 5. Slip stitch into that very first single crochet. Find where we put our scissors. Cut it. Close it off, weave in our tail when we're done, and there we have the strawberry shortcake hat. Super, super cute. Fun, quick to make. I really like this jam session colorway a lot. We got, like I said, a little tiny bit left over. And just enough to make a really nice hat. Now I know from experience that you could probably make a hat out of knit much easier and have more yarn left over, but I really like the crocheted yarn. I think that it looks really pretty. And you see the way this kind of has like a diagonal texture, and it's like you could feel the texture. It's really pretty. But also, like, if you don't like that side, you could always wear it the other way, where it's less texture but still has like it still is really pretty. So there we have it. Thank you so much for tuning in for this tutorial. If you make this hat, please, I would love to see photos of your hat. I want to see what colors you pick to use. You can do this in a solid color. You can do it in a speckled yarn. You can do it in any yarn you choose that's a 4-weight. But I really, really highly suggest that you use the painterly for this cool speckled effect. Or at least buy some and use it because it's really nice. I will link the yarn and the beautiful ommi crochet hook in the description box below. If you want to share pictures of your makes with me, we share it on my Instagram and just @ cinnamon stitches, one word, or hashtag cinnamon stitches, all one word. Hashtag is the £, for us old people that used to use phones. And yeah, or you could post it in the. You could also post it in the Facebook group. And in order to join the Facebook group, you have to answer the questions. And then you can also email me at cinnamonstitches79@gmail.com. That is in the description box below in case I said that wrong, because I can never remember my own email address. But thanks to Premier for releasing another yarn that I just think is fantastic and I'm in love with. And for always supporting me and all of my weird ideas. And thank you guys all for tuning in for this tutorial, whether you're making this hat or not. And I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.